Well, that's a good one. Yeah. That's a very fine question. Because awareness is what makes the jiva, the experience knowing entity, to know. But who knows? Is it the construct who knows, or it's awareness that knows? It depends from the standpoint. When we look from the standpoint of the jiva is the knower and the experience. But when we stand in awareness, we say, no, the only knower there is awareness. You understand? Because nobody and nothing can know anything except with, with the support. Awareness knows with the aid of construct, body-mind construct, the jiva. The eternal jiva, the universal jiva, and awareness, both together, awareness plus maya plus subtle body or jiva, makes the knower and the experience appear. So who knows? We have this expression, who knows? Huh? Who knows? It is the jiva from the standpoint of the jiva, but eventually, ultimately, awareness knows, although awareness is not a knower or experience. You understand? It's not a knowing or experiencing entity, but yet no knowledge happens without the principle, the knowingness principle, or the knowing principle called knowledge or awareness. We have electricity, and then we have the fan, we have the refrigerator, have several other appliances producing something out of it. What is producing the refrigeration, the fan, the freshness, or the heat, and so on? Is it the apparatus, or it's the electrical power? You understand? Oh no, it's my fan. My fan is producing. Okay, but who is really producing this phenomenon called how you call that? The air. How you say when the air moves? The ventilation. Who is producing the ventilation? Is it the fan? The fan is nothing without the power behind it. You know the story about it was a summertime in Tiruvannamalai, and then somebody comes to the house of a famous guru, and it was very hot. The guy comes in, oh my God, it's a very, very hot day today, summertime. And then he said, thanks God that the fan is on. And then this famous guru said, no, the fan is off. And they said, no, the fan is on. It's off, it's on, it's on, it's on. No, the fan was on, but it was running on the momentum because the electrical power was off. So was the fan on or off? Because although there was no electrical power, you say awareness, it was still moving. Understand? So we jivas, we are like a moving thing that we move by the power of awareness, consciousness. We know things and we experience things by the power of awareness, and awareness alone. That metaphor is to illustrate the power of vasanas. Some vasanas, they take time to wind down and fade, like the moment of a fan that keeps rotating for 15 seconds before it's completely stopped. But the point to be made here is that there is nothing, nothing comes out of any of those appliances without the electrical power. The same thing, nothing can be known or experienced without awareness. So who knows? Who experienced? No? The scriptures sometimes say, all there is to life is awareness, experience itself, 24/7. The ultimate truth is awareness, experience itself in this secondary apparent order of reality called mithya, which is, by the way, it's not really real. It's awareness. It's all awareness. Awareness is playing as if experience itself. So the same thing in reference to knowledge. Who is knowing? What is self-knowledge? It's awareness Consciousness knowing itself to be just itself as consciousness, awareness. Because there is only one knowledge, one knower, fundamentally, to be truthful. That's why we say that enlightenment is or awareness for consciousness itself, for the self, because it's free from this veiling or projecting power caused by Maya. And then apparently it forgets itself, and then it knows itself again by the means of the removal of ignorance, self-knowledge, or application of knowledge. Depends from where we ask our question. Make sense? Then who knows?
When this meter is negated,
yes.
what's to know?
Yes. Once you negate meter, when the sense of knowership, doership, authorship goes, and then you know that only the knowledge knows itself through this phenomenal apparent universe. It's all knowledge knowing itself. It becomes clear to you that you don't know anything. It's just the same way that you feel that you're not the doer. You know that you're not the knower. You're not the experience. You're not the author. Consciousness, with the aids of Ishvara, is the all-knower, the all-knowing, knowing everything. Everything is known by Ishvara in terms of objective knowledge. But awareness of its true essential nature is pure knowledge. It's existence, knowledge or consciousness, and it's infinitely limitless. Any other difficult question? He's a good thinker. He always comes with good questions. Very good thinker.
I want to ask a very simple question. What is in rope snake example? What is the source of the cause of this appearance, of this false appearance?
What caused the snake appear?
Yeah, because yesterday, once we said that it is a rock projection.
Yeah, it's a wrong.
And in my view, it is not. Because when I got the knowledge of the snake disappears,
Yeah.
I got rock knowledge.
Yeah.
If rock is projecting snake, it will continue to project. So, from this point of view,
If the robe is projecting snake,
yes,
what do you mean?
Continue to project.
Yeah.
But I got,
No, the
I
project.
got the knowledge
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's no snake, it is a
Yeah.
robe. So, and from this point of view, I'm going to say that the source of this bronze illusion or appearance, it doesn't matter, is the seer.
Always the seer.
Only the seer.
Yes, of course. It's a subject phenomenon because knowledge and ignorance exist only from the standpoint of the human jiva. All other creatures, they are being operated by ignorance. And they don't have the twilight metaphor is a way to describe that we live somehow conditioned by rajas and tamas, which keeps projecting, veiling our perception, and then we make mistakes of apprehension. We don't see things for what they are. Most importantly, we don't see that everything is consciousness. But we make even more simple, gross mistakes like not being able to read certain situations, or even to the degree of not recognizing the robe as a robe, but somehow. And you see in that metaphor there is there is twilight, there is darkness, darkness, tamas, ignorance, and there is rajas, which is there is light, which is knowledge, and there is darkness, and darkness is produced by rajas and tamas. Okay, tamas conceal our perception, our vision, our clear vision, and raja agitates the mind so that we can't figure out exactly what's going on. So it's a subject condition that is born. The source of the subject condition is the state of the mind of the human jiva. When it's under the influence of too much rajas and tamas, we don't see things as they are.
Maya is apparent.
Yeah.
And it is Shiva.
Yeah.
Sees as reality.
Yeah, Maya projects the universe. That's why some scriptures they say that Maya comes first and Ishvara comes second. Okay? Some others say that Ishvara comes first and Maya comes second. Why Maya would come first? Because the first energy is Sattva and it's pure, it's God, it's Ishvara, it's pure Sattva. But out of Sattva, the concealing, the veiling, and the projecting power come in order to create the universe. And then when that comes, and then we have Maya coming out of Ishvara, pure Sattva. Some other scripture present Maya as the power, and then Ishvara as the creation, the creator, and the rose. But it's basically all the function of these two energies that project and conceal, which is a condition related to human jiva's mind only.
For me, it was very important again to clarify this creation. That Brahman or awareness is not they see it as not the source as the seed of a tree is.
No.
Or as the milk for food, for example.
No.
Yeah? But as a snake and rope. It is awareness is the source, as rope
of course.
Is the source for the snake.
Yes, and right? Absolutely. The metaphor, the robe refers to awareness, and the snake is a superimposition on awareness. We take the body mind, as the self. We are the self. We take the body mind as the self. The robe is awareness, and it's taken to be a snake.
So, it means a real creation is impossible because real creation needs modification in consciousness.
Right.
Yeah. It is why it is apparent.
It's apparent.
Creation. Apparent reality.
Yeah. That's how it.
And awareness is a substratum. Substratum cannot changeable.
Yeah.
It cannot change.
Yes.
Substratum
Totally.
cannot change.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Again and again.
Yeah. That's very nice.
This causeless Brahman is cause, Brahman is not. So for me, it's very important to understand. I trust Upanishad.
Yeah, we need to understand, of course.
But I need to understand.
Yeah.
And when I understand, it's clear.
Yeah. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's okay. Any more questions?
Could you please explain the difference between self-realization and actualization, and whether there are stages in between? Self-actualization.
Yeah, self-realization is when you have the direct knowledge, when you know that the self is not something other than you. Okay? Now I know I am the self. I don't see the self as something other than myself that I have to connect, project, or produce. You understand? And then it's direct knowledge. And then self-realization is different from self-realization. It's a bit different from self-knowledge. Everybody who comes to Vedanta has the knowledge. The knowledge of the self is the jiva. The jiva is fundamentally the self. This is self-knowledge. Direct knowledge, meaning to say, direct. So it's not that the self is something other than myself that I need to contact. Okay, so you know now, it's me. I am the self. So now realizing it is to know it directly, first hand, and immediately, and there's a knowledge that is always available and without any more doubt. Okay, so the first step is to know that the self is nothing other than ourselves. The second is to assimilate this knowledge in the way that it's a first-hand, direct, immediate, always present knowledge. But even when this direct knowledge becomes a direct, first-hand self-knowledge, it's continuously being challenged by ignorance, because ignorance does not disappear all at once. Gunther, you remember you were talking about that? So how are we going to take care of all those vasanas? So self-knowledge somehow process a lot of purification, the process of self-inquiry and then self-knowledge, but yet there will be some vasanas which were based, because it's a memento of previous actions that are still here as Sanchita karma that is going to manifest and appears in the mind as Prarabdha karma. So these bits and pieces of ignorance are going to keep coming. And sometimes we are not vigilant, aware, or we are distracted, or in better words, our mind is not sattvic enough to somehow to filter or to prevent those energies based on self-ignorance to be expressed or verbalized. And then we say, oh, the guy is self-realized, but he's behaving here and there from the standpoint of self-ignorance, right? So self-actualization is a process by which all those vasanas, they are rendered binding vasanas, binding, compulsive, most important, adharmic vasanas, they are neutralized and they become no longer compulsive and binding. And then the knowledge is fructifying as freedom. Freedom from what? From ignorance. Ignorance is what pushes us around to chase and to get, to become and to gain and so on.
So you're really free when you are self-actualized, right?
Yes, and there is no end for that process. You know, it's how can you put an end to the purification of mind? There is nothing pure in the universe. Everything is a mix of the energies and the elements. You understand?
And it's I don't remember how long what that period take, but I think James.
Yeah, that's just a play to say, hey, take it easy. Don't get in a hurry. Don't be impatient. If you want to really to be free, the first thing to know is the self-realization is the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, it's the end of seeking.
Yeah.
The end of seeking, because when you really know, seeking stops. You no longer seek for either yourself from experience or any other knowledge, because you got the knowledge. I am the self. You know? We lost something. We keep looking. When we find there may be some vasana there that keeps making us still looking. We have everything. We found the glasses already, but there is a vasana there. I say, but where are my glasses? No? But then this vasana fades, and then we don't look anymore. So that's when the seeking stops. No? And then Ramji, in that in reference to some saying or some quote or some, I don't know where he got that from, he said, you put 5 years on content. Huh?
It is Swami Paramatmananda's form. 5 years.
Oh, he put that form, yeah. Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
I'm getting there. Yeah, it's 5. Yeah.
10 years for 5 years for listening to the scriptures, 10 years to contemplate and clear your doubts, and 15 years to assimilate the knowledge.
Yeah, which
I'm starting to it.
This is before moksha.
So 5 years for listening to the scriptures.
yeah,
10 years was clear your doubts.
yeah.
That's like
He's calculated.
Yeah.
You are young, don't worry.
30 years.
Well, we don't need to take it literally, okay? It's just a way to say, hey, let's go easy. It takes some time. It's a gradual process. There is no end for spiritual development or purification of the mind or certainty of knowledge, but generally speaking, it takes some time. For some people who are highly qualified, it may take 1 year or a few months of listening and then contemplation, and then one realizes the self. For some other people, it takes maybe a few years. But generally, this is just an indication that we need to relax and keep doing our good work, because what else to do here, right?
sorry.
We either do this good work or we do some other stupid work.
It's a great knowledge.
Sorry.
Meditation.
Yeah, nididhyasana can be seen as as a simulation, but I find it much better illustrate as application, because you see, you have your Shravana, which is listening until you listen to everything, and then you have some time of reflection, contemplation, which does not need to be like after 5 years of listening. It goes like simultaneously. You start listening, and it's likely. It's recommended that first you listen to the whole teaching, but as you begin listening, you start contemplate, and so you go through listening, contemplation. Once you contemplate, so how are you going to assimilate it? Assimilation is only a byproduct of application of the knowledge against ignorance. That's what assimilation is. I prefer to present it, and then after you contemplate and reflect, you need to apply the knowledge on a daily basis, because people ask me again and again, and ask everybody, so what is nididhyasana? How I practice nididhyasana? Oh, nididhyasana is assimilation. How assimilation comes about? It's if self-knowledge is a byproduct of the removal of the ignorance. It comes about by applying knowledge against ignorance. So therefore, nididhyasana is application, constant application of self-knowledge against ignorance that keeps surfacing. And that's to the degree that those ignorance get removed or cancelled, one is more and more firmly established in this certainty, this firm conviction that I am light, I'm consciousness, and everybody is consciousness.
I've heard Ramji say, relax, you're on the Vedanta bus, you can put your luggage down. And what I feel really grateful about Vedanta for is because in the spiritual world, and like the Neo-Advaita world, they think self-realization is it. Like that's self-realized, now go out and teach, go spread the gospel, and just, you're enlightened. But that's what I like about Vedanta, that's just the very beginning. And that we are given something to work out, to apply this, like you said, to this ignorance. I found that, I met many teachers, and I didn't have the tools. They said, okay, they didn't even talk about self-actualization. They didn't talk about how it's a process. There's nothing you can do. Just one fine day, it's, you're going to have, things are going to shift for you, and then you're going to abide in the self. So I just really appreciate what I know what you're saying, because it's been very, very helpful for me.
Yeah, and the modern teachers, they don't talk about self-actualization, because most of the case they are not self-actualized. Why they're going to expose themselves?
I didn't get that until just now. I didn't think of that. You're right.
Yeah. Huh? Moksha is the fructification of self-knowledge, when you are no longer being pushed around by ignorance, and you are no longer chasing or depending on objects of experience.
Describe one piece point of the whole process.
Huh?
Does it describe one of these points or the whole process?
No, self-realization is moksha.
That's what I'm
No.
asking. Is that what you're saying?
No. I did not understand your question, David. Can you elaborate it differently, please?
The word moksha.
Yeah, moksha means freedom.
In this model that you just described, is it one particular point or is it the process?
It's a process. I mean, we can be free in so many different levels. We begin as on our process of self-betterment, self-improvement, or self-development as a jiva. Oh, there is something that's suppressing me. I have this trauma, or I have this condition, and then comes an insight on a psychological level, and I feel freer. So there is no end for freedom. You, at the beginning, you are trying to be free from those oppressive thoughts. And then one day comes, you are free from the main oppressed thoughts, which is like I am the body. You know? And that's the beginning to clean up all these unconscious pieces of ignorance that still keep, challenging the knowledge that I am the light. And this is a process that has no end. how much a teacher is liberated, so you can observe by one's behavior, but nobody is behind the curtains to see how a guru behaves, in their ashram or in their house or anywhere, Generally speaking, you see how they behave when they are with the students, when they are doing their class and so on. So only the guru knows. I can give you a simple example. When I was there in Brazil, there was a guy, people in some place there in São Paulo, they were crazy with Vedanta. There were at least four sanghas that developed there. And these people, they were really, really into Vedanta. Every month we had a seminar. And then one day I had a conflict, and my mind was conflict, and I said something inappropriate to my wife before everybody else. I said, "Oh, today you don't talk, okay? You just, today you don't talk, okay? I'm tired of you interrupting me because she was trying to press my button, and I was irritated." Okay, I said something like that, and then they interpret like I think there is something wrong with this enlightenment here, because an enlightened being cannot talk to a wife like that. Today you don't talk. You understand? So from that point on, that sangha disappeared because doubt came into their mind, because their idea of enlightenment is somebody who is perfectly clean, pure, sent, free from any irritation or anything. And that's a misconception, because there is no such a thing as 100% freedom or purification of the mind. A little space for a little irritation may come, but it goes very quickly. And I can tell that as the years go by, they visit me less and less and less, and I feel free and free and free, which is an indication that it's a gradual process which maybe has no end. It's freedom from binding tendencies which produce suffering. It's a constant development of dispassion towards whatsoever life presents you, equanimity and peace and contentment. And so, but you see, this happened with Ramji because he presents himself as a redneck from Montana. He does not present himself as a guru. And people right and left think that he's a fake guru because he says inappropriate things. Sometimes he's grumpy and so on. No, he shows his jiva totally neck to everybody to make a point as well. Hey, you have some wrong ideas. Recently, there was a friend of ours who somehow got too close to him and then saw his jivahood a little bit and got confused. There is something wrong with this Mahatma because he was behaving like a human being, So this to illustrate that, like Ramji says, all gods have Yeah, feet of clay. Yeah, you understand? We are all human beings. Is there such a thing as self-knowledge and liberation or self-realization? Yes, there is. Does it bring about the end of psychological suffering? Yes, it does. Does any little suffering is impossible? No, it's not impossible. A little irritation, something here and there, it may still come to the degree that the one is still having some stupid bits and pieces of old vasanas operating. But the difference is that immediately those things have no grab on you. If an irritation comes, I don't know what is anger mostly, basically. I don't know. But irritation may come, but does not have a grab, you say? Yeah, there's no grab. You understand? It just comes and goes. Because you have the knowledge on your side. There is a slogan, they say, I have something on my side. What is that slogan? I have God on my side, I have something on my side. There is a slogan. Huh? Yeah. I think there was a song saying, I have God on my side. I have knowledge on...
Yeah, there was some.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Nice sticks. Yeah. Nice sticks is a good one. Nothing sticks is a good one, a good analogy.
And we have God on our side.
Yeah. We have knowledge on our side. Yeah.
Could you say something about, I don't know how to open this as a question, I'm not even sure that one should, but if post self-actualization, then the self-actualized person dies, then
Who knows?
who knows? That's my thing, is that it's just be agnostic about that.
Yeah. It's
There's no need
it's speculation. It's not conducive to spiritual progress. So.
because you are here, and it's really about,
Yeah.
Somebody asked me that, and I didn't have a pat answer for it.
Yeah.
The way in Vedanta, there's usually, even if I don't know them, I know there are answers.
Yeah.
But for that, I thought, then what I decided was that the question was wrong-headed. That
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, usually I in this kind of questions, I usually tell people, of course, they ask me from the standpoint of the student, teacher, and then I say, this question is not relevant or conducive to self-knowledge, so therefore it's a waste of time, Yeah. But who knows, maybe there is something written in the scriptures that say that these and that. Their scriptures say things. Those are revealed knowledge. But the human mind has no access to that knowledge. If there is such a knowledge, written somewhere, it was revealed by Ishvara. But Ishvara usually reveals what is needed for our relief from suffering, for the removal, not unnecessary knowledge.
So things like absorption in Brahman, something like that. There's no.
Of course, that is not speculative. That is stupidity, because the self is all pervasive. It's everywhere. It's one without the other. Who is going to absorb or melt or merge or something? Yeah. This is a linguistic mistake, because if you want to present it in an attractive way, you're going to present it on a kind of time, action, experience language that people relate better to that, but it's misleading.
That's if I had sort of.
Okay. Can we go back here? Let's begin with our invocation. We have a few more lines. Sadashiva Samrambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Gurate Neti Muchi Vedati Bhagine Vyoma Vada Vyapaka Dehaya Dashinamurtiya Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti Namji. Shankara takes us by the hand and leads us step by step to the recognition that we are none. Oh, this is that piece that's missing here. Let me jump this one. Can somebody read this paragraph? Shankara takes us by the hand, because I made a mistake on copy and pasting here. Can you do that? Andre, you have a good voice. You have it? Okay.
Shankara takes us by the hand and leads us step by step to the recognition that we are none of the things we have long believed we were. Keep going.
Yeah.
Using the process called sublation or bhakti, which is the principal teaching method of Vedanta, the text considers the various sheets of identities that we mix up with the self. It shows us that they are ultimately unreal, mithya, and raises us to the progressively settled levels of understanding.
Okay. Right. It shows us that they are ultimately unreal. All those misidentifications with phenomena, or with the 5 sheets, or the 3 bodies, or howsoever we see, or those states of beautiful states of mind coming from Anandamaya Kosha, they are still distractions. And it takes us from the, shows us that they are ultimate unreal, mithya, and raises us to progressively subtle levels of understanding. So we are just growing our understanding, and we are learning not to identify with, not only with dense, gross phenomena, but also with subtler phenomena, because the whole problem is our misidentification with our experience, objects of experience, beginning with the body, and then the most subtle are those beautiful states of mind that we find in Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheet, where the mind is very sattvic and keeps producing this object, this phenomenal object, that we feel so much attracted, and we get involved, and we need to move past those. Are texts such as Vivekachudamani strictly necessary? The question. We have, after all, the Upanishads themselves, along with the other source texts of Vedanta. None of these texts, however, the Upanishads and all the other texts, the original texts of Vedanta. Vedanta has the original text, and then they have the Brahma Sutras, which are commentaries, and then Gita, and then all the more recent texts were written, especially from Shankaracharya. None of these texts, the older original text, however, is designed to operate independently of the teacher-disciple relationship. In Vivekachudamani, the student is not unfamiliar with the Upanishads. He is confused by them, because it's very tough to read the scriptures directly without the help of a teacher. So he seeks a teacher. No text can take the place of a teacher, but works such as this can help anomalies to clarify our understanding. I do not understand this sentence. Maybe mine is wrong. No text
can take the place of a teacher. literature, but works such as this help enormously clarify our understanding so that we can benefit more readily from the guidance of the teacher.
Yeah, so doing some groundwork of reading the text and the commentaries of Shankara, it's a good base from which we can get a help of a teacher. So when a student comes to Vedanta, usually the first thing that I do is tell them, hey, before you ask question, you read this and this and this. It's useless to ask question if you don't have a ground of common ground with Vedanta. No, you have to have a common ground. So you ask a question based on the teachings of Vedanta, and then they can be answered. So it's good to begin. And again, the best reading material available are the commentaries coming from Shamayananda, Dayananda, Paramarthananda, Ramji, and so on, because they are the scriptures, but they are already unfolded in a nice, easy, comprehensive way. When we want to do our Shravana, listening, we can do it by reading the original scriptures, or you can read commentary, or you can read a book of Ramji that he unfolds it even more easily to understand, to be understood. You can watch a video, you can watch audio, you can listen to some audio material. It's all, Shravana. You're listening. You expose your mind to the teachings, and then you carry on your contemplation. The best way is like we are doing this last 3 weeks, together in the presence of the teaching and the teacher, and the energy of the group makes our minds more sattvic, and then it's the best environment for contemplation and assimilation of the knowledge. When we do it at home, what happens, not only we are alone, but we are in a different kind of environment. But we have no other choice, because we are householders, we are not sannyas. So I'm trying to explain that we need to do what we can. And in this kind of environment, it's very supportive for the lights goes on and we understand more clearly, we assimilate, our nididhyasana goes deeper, and because the whole environment is supportive. We become inspired by the insights we gain from its reading, and this increases our longing for liberation, readings of the scriptures and the book, which is one of the 4 qualifications Shankara lists for the student of Vedanta, the longing, the burning desire, the longing for moksha. It is this longing that can be understood as the grace of Ishvara that leads us to a teacher. Most of us, we got to Vedanta by a book or a video or something, and then I say, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Where can I go? Someone who can talk to me in person about that, someone I can ask some questions. And that's how we come to James and Shine World. There is at present something described as Neo-Advaita, or the Satsang movement. Neo-Advaitins teachers pronounce the conclusion of the Upanishads, the last chapter they put in front. Your consciousness, all there is consciousness, go home and get over it. And they go, oh, that's wonderful, that's the best message I ever heard. I met a friend of mine from the times of Osho. She went from Lucknow, she went to see Ramesh in Bombay. And then when she came, she was really high. He told me that I'm already enlightened, I'm not the doer, I don't need to seek and search and do anything anymore, and I can go home and relax. She never relaxed after that. She never relaxed. It sounded very good. It was like, wow, this is the ultimate, this is my guru, But how can you tell the doer, somebody who is firmly identified as the doer of his action, somebody who's firmly identified as the body, how can you tell them, oh no, you are consciousness and you are not the doer? You talk about two other levels. Huh? The person is the doer in the body. You say, no, you are not the body, you are Ishvara, so to speak. You are not the doer, Ishvara does. But in fact, they say you are not the doer because actions do not exist. That's what they imply, you know. Actions do not exist. That's the implied meaning. They don't even bring Ishvara into the equation. So it's not much help. The same one we are doing. Yeah, it's all that. It's all that another. I mean, it was a bit added and organized by Ed. So they say that all there is consciousness, and then in a manner of speak, they walk away leading the student. You know, like okay, that's it. Yes. Okay, so here's your money. I'm free now. I can go home. You know, like Tony Parson. I go there. He solves the problems of everybody. You don't exist. I don't exist. The teacher does not exist. The student does not exist. All of this is a dream. It's an illusion. You know, you are all free. You're all consciousness. And then people get really high and they pay the money and then they go home. But guess what? Every week they come back for the same meeting. There is no teaching. Crazy, huh?
I know a friend of mine who listened to Tony Parson, and she came to me in a panic. She did. So she didn't get high. She actually created more anxiety in her. So obviously, I said, well, then don't listen to him.
Yeah, it can be dangerous as well. I mean, a person is totally identified as the doer. You tell them, hey, you don't exist, you're not the doer. Yeah, it may be devastating psychologically to the person. But for the spiritual people, some spiritual people like to hear that. They say, oh yes, I'm consciousness. I knew it from the beginning. So now give me my enlightenment certificate. And then he goes there and he signs the certificate. He gives to you. But freedom, moksha, does not come from knowing the self is awareness. Living, they say, you are awareness and that's it. But freedom, moksha, does not come from knowing the self is awareness. It comes from knowing Nitya is not the self. You see the beauty? It comes by the removal of ignorance. Because the jiva is already the self, has always been the self. They just have to remove those misconceptions. It does not need to be repeated. It said, you are consciousness, you are consciousness, you are consciousness, you are consciousness, without ever addressing the ignorance. That's all the time they're saying the opposite. How long can you have to repeat the mantra, I am consciousness, to neutralize lifetimes of ignorance with all its complexities coming from every angle of experience, human experience, that is telling you, no, you are the body and you're gonna die, you are born and so on, and you are changing, you need to secure.
But I thought Nitya is also the self. Like everything is the self.
Everything is the self. Yeah. Everything is the self. You're getting that. You're making a lot of progress. That's why you keep coming back. Yeah. Go in China. You go in China world and start doing your work there. And feel free to contact me with all questions by email. Okay. You'll find my email there on the teachers, endorsed teachers. Simply pronouncing one of the great sayings and leaving the listener to his own device is much like providing the correct answer to a complicated math problem, but neglecting to explain how the answer was reached right? So unless we know firsthand how we came to such a conclusion, what is the purpose of saying, oh, this is the final conclusion? No, this equation is very complex, like m equal em equal mc squared. You say, oh, this is the beginning of the equation, this is the conclusion. And what about in between? Oh, no, you don't need it. You just need the answer, the final answer. So how can I own such a knowledge? Huh? If it's not mine. If I have not integrated, understood, and processed, and made it my knowledge. It has to be made your knowledge.
That's the first time my friend had said that. It's like if you're a teacher, a math teacher, you just give your students the answer.
Yeah.
I never heard it that way.
Yeah. It was a very common thing. I studied a lot of maths because I studied to become an engineer, and you had to really learn how to get to the everything you had to know. Otherwise, yeah. The student will have the right sum, but remain completely ignorant of the rules of computation that produce the sum. He will not be able to work it out for himself and make the answer his own, without undergoing the process of negation, in which the 5 sheets are negating in a logical progression from the grossest to the subtlest. The great saints, the Mahavakyas, a little more than lofty-sounding words with no practical application. That's the problem with repeating mantras. It has a relaxing effect, the repetition of the name of the Lord or a certain mantra. It calms the mind, but it does not do more than that. It can be used to calm the mind, and then you do your readings, your contemplation of scriptures, and because the mind is calm now. But only to do like these people do, this TM meditation by repeating mantras, you never make any progress. You just create sattva, and then you exhaust your sattva. Create sattva, exhaust your sattva. Create sattva, exhaust your sattva. The student in this text asks the essential question: if I am limitless existence, knowledge and joy, why don't I know it? That's nice, huh? Yeah. We are ready. Why don't I know it? Huh? We blame Maya. Maya is the bad guy here. Huh? And the teacher then explained the nature of ignorance, Maya, which obscure self-knowledge, Rajas and Tamas, the concealing and the projecting energies that somehow makes us oversee our fundamental, essential, true nature, identity as light of consciousness. A teacher who cannot explain how ignorance operates and merely delivers the pronouncement that all is Brahman is not a teacher at all, but an orator. That's nice, huh? It's an orator. Who's borrowed grandiloquence, something like that. Huh? Okay, I don't try to repeat that. I'm going to replace many of these words the next time I do this text.
It's just posh talk.
Yeah, it's just an orator, with a big ego, and may do more than harm to good to those unprepared to receive that, which is meant to come at the end of the process of self-inquiry. You see the importance of going through the Ishvara teachings of Karma and Dharma, fundamental. We need to have the entire knowledge. And then go into the Upanishads, the whole logical process of discriminating Satya and Mithya. Satya from Mithya. When one has come to recognize the levels of understanding from which such statements can be evaluated, it serves little purpose to tell a man in chains that he should think of himself free. Oh, that's very nice, huh? The guy is there, chained to in a cave, dark, and they say, hey, these chains, they don't exist, it's just a dream. You are free. What he wants is a tool that he can use to strike off the chains. Vedanta is that tool. Of course, it's an imaginary tool to cut off the imaginary chain. But the imaginary chain has an effect. Therefore, we need an imaginary tool. You understand? So you cannot say the chain does not exist and that's it. No, it has its effect. So I need an imaginary tool to remove the imaginary chain. Vedanta is that tool. We should use it well and with gratitude. Verse 108. Last one. We have 1 hour to squeeze some juice here, or half an hour. It's a small one. These liberating words of Shankara quench the existential thirst of those seeking relief from the scorching rays of the sun of samsara. That's a nice, huh? The sun of samsara is really, it's too much, it burns sometimes. The existential thirst of those seeking relief from the scorching rays of the sun of samsara. This is a recurring metaphor in all traditions for describing our desire to relieve from the pains of this world. Dualistic religions that teach the existence of hellfire for unbelievers and miscreants sometimes dwell upon the pain of thirst experienced by a damned, because we all know that it is to suffer thirst. We all know what it is to suffer thirst and how painful and all-consuming the desire for water can become. We are so fortunate, huh? We have never really experienced thirst or hunger. Hunger, we say? Yeah, starvation. Hunger, we have never really experienced real hunger or real starvation because it stopped. So the mumukshata, the burning desire, is a similar kind of hunger. It's almost like you don't have air to breathe anymore. You need water, or you die, or you're dying for the knowledge. Dualistic religions that teach, now these are already read. Painful and all-consuming the desire for water can become. In this final verse, we are presented with the image of a seeker of liberation being scorched by the sun, which is likened to samsara, the world of apparent reality. Samsara drives us across the desert of this world, where we are offered many things that promise to quench our thirst, but they are all immature, of the nature of a mirage. And no one's thirst was ever quenched by a mirage. Very nice, huh? Very nice. We heard this expression many times. Oh, I'm really thirsty now. My spirituality is growing, and now I'm really thirst for the knowledge. Huh?
There's a very good thing in the Ramakrishna tradition where Vivekananda asked, well, what is thirst for knowledge? So one day with Ramakrishna, they were bathing in the Ganges, and Ramakrishna kept Vivekananda's head under the water until he was really struggling, he was really overstressed. And then he lets him up and he says, that's what the thirst for knowledge is.
Yeah.
You were thirsting for air there.
Yeah. It can be that dramatic sometimes, but not necessarily that dramatic. Not necessary. For me, it was that dramatic. For some other people, it can be much more smooth. You're just so obsessed with this knowledge, obsessed, and then when you see it comes clear and your doubts are solved. I have a friend in Brazil that was a smooth process. He was very hot, and then it was over. And Ramji again and again describes this kind of events with his students or friends. Vivekachudamani points to the true oasis in which the deliciously cool water of truth waits for those who are parched and exhausted. Very nice, huh? We need to be exhausted, bored to death, fed up with samsara. We come to maturity by exhaustion, trying to solve this human problem by the means of chasing, gaining objects of desire. We get so worn out and tired. Vivekachudamani points to the true oasis in which the knowledge, in which the deliciously cool water of knowledge waits for those who are parched and exhausted. This text has endured more than a millennium and is now available in many languages. It still elicits commentaries by the best teachers of Vedanta, such as Swami Dayananda and James Schwartz. And it endures for the simple reason that it leads us to the truth. That's why Vedanta is still is still in business. It never goes out of business, Vedanta. We know it's not a business. I mean, things come and disappear, new ideas, new concepts, new structures of thinking, new philosophies, new religious structures. Vedanta is always there because it works. It never goes out of business. It would be wrong to say that Vedanta contains the truth, for no text does. Words can only be pointers to what lies beyond words. That's a fact. Although the Vedanta works because it not necessarily points to the self. That's what I have been emphasizing lately. It does not point to the self. It points to all those misconceptions that are preventing us to appreciate and enjoy the freedom of our fundamental essential nature. It's a logic. That's why I like to say it's a science. It's not that vague. It's point to our ignorance and present the logic that somehow expose and cancel the ignorance. Okay? This is a kind of a dangerous statement, most probably came from Ed here. Lies beyond the words. The words of Vedanta point to the removal of all those misconceptions, the ideas, wrong ideas we have about ourselves. But words properly explained and understood can lead us to that frontier where they can be left behind. I don't like this paragraph. We should respect words, use them carefully, and know that the words of Vedanta are the only means of knowledge that can lead us out of the desert. So Vedanta is a very nice, very good means of knowledge or teaching methodology that has the potential to reveal the self to the individual, one's own fundamental existence as the same as the original consciousness, reflect consciousness. That's the potential of the scripture, provided the student is qualified and the teacher is competent enough to help the student. That's all there is to it. And it's a science because it brings up, exposes our ignorance, and then brings the logic based on pure knowledge to neutralize or remove the ignorance. And then once the ignorance is removed, and then we could say that something like grace may come, and then that 100% conviction of full clarity or removal of any kind of suspiciousness about what the scriptures say. And then you say, okay, I'm the consciousness, I have no more doubt. That is, it's a very fine moment, and it's an event in time, even though enlightenment is not an event, it's knowledge. But that last piece of ignorance or suspiciousness go, and it's an event in time. Okay, so we can have some questions, or we're still 20 minutes ahead, or we can just call it the end. Does anybody have any doubt about who and what we are? Huh? That's the most fundamental question. The question is, what am I? What am I? What are these objects appearing before my sense I'm taking myself to be? Yes, Gordon.
I have a question about meditation. Meditation only a tool to soften your mind.
No, meditation is just to calm the mind, to produce sattva, and to relax the mind. And in meditation, it brings about a good feeling sensation, because a sattvic mind is a happy mind. But meditation without knowledge is just it's a waste, because you produce sattva like repeating a mantra or anything, and then you don't feed the mind with knowledge, and then you have wasted that platform of sattva guna, the mind in a good shape to contemplate and assimilate self-knowledge. You understand? Meditation with knowledge is good. Being fed knowledge, side by side. It's okay. Karma Yoga also, for the Vedantins, Karma Yoga is only a means to purify the mind. Karma Yoga by itself, it just relaxes the mind. But you want to feed the mind with knowledge simultaneously, You go through your knowledge of karma and dharma, and at the same time you apply the knowledge of the Upanishad, self-inquiry, discrimination between the real and the apparently real.
Quote, the student no longer feels compelled to act because he no longer believes that any experience in time will result in lasting happiness, which is the illusion that drives us through life. Close quote. That is not to say that one cannot still participate in experience the goodness of life.
It's impossible not to.
Impossible.
No.
So it's still okay to have good food and be in a relationship.
Of course. Yeah. Even if you try hard not to participate, you still have to participate a little bit, Enlightenment is not controlling your experience, or it's just an attitude based on the knowledge that you are free from your experience. As awareness, you are free from your experience, and then leave experience to the body-mind and to Ishvara. Ishvara is going to provide you all the experience. How can you avoid the experience? Unless we just put an end to our life. And then there is no experience anymore. There's nothing wrong with experience. There is something that could be said wrong with contacting the world of objects from a standpoint of knowledge, of ignorance, a mind disturbed by rajas and tamas, and then you, again and again, you get confused, and you don't read properly, you don't understand your experience, and you keep creating karma, responding not appropriately to the field. Life is experience, it's awareness, reflecting Maya, producing the subtle body, and then illuminating the field of action, the objects in the field, contacting the objects in the field. You cannot avoid that. And what you do from at that level, when you contact the world, it will depend on the condition of one's mind. If you stand in knowledge, and then the experience is going to be pleasant. But if you stand in confusion, ignorance, and then the experience is going to be discomfort, suffering, and so on. Right? It's the quality of the mind is the key. That's why it's fundamental to cultivate and develop sattva guna, and keep the mind as much as possible in that condition.
What are some ways of maintaining itself?
Nothing remains the same from one moment to another. In Nitya is the definition of the Nitya is that which moves and changes from one moment to another, always, including the mind. It's just a question of having a predominance of sattva guna in your mind. And the only way to have that predominance of sattva guna is by knowledge. Because the knowledge is going to neutralize those energies, the rajas and tamas energies that produce disturbance, mental disturbance. So with knowledge you can establish a predominance of sattva guna, which does not depend on constant maintenance. You can do that by meditation, by mantras, by yoga or any other thing. But you have to keep maintaining your sadhana, your practice. The only thing that you do not need to maintain is when you know who you are. When you know, oh, I'm not a cat, I'm a human being. And then you know that. So you don't need to remind yourself every day or repeat your mantra every morning, I am a man, I am a man, I'm a man, I'm a man. The job is done. Likewise, when you know what you are, and then those energies subside and your mind remains predominantly sattvic, because those desires and aversions, they are no longer operating as before. Like, oh, I need something, or I need to avoid something, I need something, I need to avoid something, When that subsides, the mind remains predominantly sattvic. But it's still modified. Still modified a little bit.
And it's not a danger if you are predominant, I cannot speak the word predominant, and having sattva, that you get stuck there and don't inquire anymore and just enjoy that and are satisfied. Because there are many people
it's dangerous,
not satisfied with anything, they want to find all this and accommodate all the time.
But we are talking here about a sattvic mind as a byproduct of knowledge, which is the only one that produces sattvic mind and freedom from dependence on constant maintenance, some action such as meditation or repetition of a mantra is going to develop sattva. But it depends on constant action.
So sattva associated with inquiry.
Yeah, the sattva that comes from self-knowledge is a sattva guna that does not require maintenance. Because once you know, And once you know, those bits and pieces of ignorance get neutralized. We only chase objects right and left and afraid of things. And we only live that condition because we are still being operated by the ignorance, I am the body-mind construct. You understand? Therefore, I need things. I need to secure, I need to protect, I need to defend, I need this, I need that. Life is dangerous, and so on.
Yeah, but I'm talking about sattva, not necessarily associated
With knowledge.
You know?
Yeah.
Just,
I know.
general state of mind. Many people have
Yeah. We just spoke a few minutes before about the sattva produced by meditation. It's something that comes and goes. Therefore, every time we meditate, we suggest to apply knowledge. We need to feed the mind with knowledge when the mind is sattvic. I know that from the old days with Osho Rajneesh. I used to meditate, and then sometimes I was in a nice state of mind. And then you know what I used to do? We had an ashram that was all by the Buddha. We had place for meditation, but we had discotheque, we have a pub and everything, place to go and flirt with the girls and, find a date and so on. When my mind was sattvic, instead of really begin to do some more deep work, I could not do anything because there was no teaching. The only teaching was meditate and then you're going to feel good. So I was having a sattvic and cool mind. I feel so good and confident. I would go to the pub to chase a girl because then I am showing a good face. You know how you see how luminous I am, how cool, how confident I am. We can wage sattva in so many different ways. And then later on you have to work to produce more sattva, to chase more girls.
You just need to find the right girl, and then
Huh?
if you just find the right girl, then everything will be great.
Yeah. You wish, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm not completely satisfied with the answer. Though. I'm not talking about creating or having sattva and trying to maintain that as a result of a meditation. There are some people, my father, for instance, is generally content and satisfied and feel like full, and he doesn't need anything, So he couldn't go for moksha, he couldn't go, because everything is fine. I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
So there is no room for spiritual growth because he doesn't need anything,
I don't know about the condition of your father, but maybe he's a sage and you do not know, or maybe you know already. But I can tell you one thing, a lot of people confuse tamas with sattva, or with wisdom. And I have seen a lot of people that are tamasic, and then to the eyes of the world they look as if they are wise. Because they don't do anything, they don't want anything, and they just sit somewhere and they look into the mountain, they look into the tree, they smoke a bidi, and then they remain like that. And sometimes tamas looks as wisdom. So you have to distinguish that one. Rajasic people, you can see that they are afflicted because it's very uncomfortable Raja. But tamas can be taken to be wisdom sometimes.
Clarity that distinguishes,
Huh? Yeah. The sattvic individual, it may appear lazy or inactive, but he has a clear, sharp, alert mind. He's not like there in Brazil. Brazil is a tamasic society. There is too much sun. The culture is everybody breaking the rules, cutting corners, deceiving, lying, and very hot. And people are tamasic. Everything is, tomorrow. And then they do things not properly. And then you find these people, especially in the countryside, they sit outside just watching the cars to pass. And they stay there for hours and hours and hours, focusing, and then they stand down. They usually older people, and then they sit again, and then they look to the mountain. one think like, wow, I wish I could be as relaxed as him, you know. I mean, I'm here all agitated, trying to make a living. I'm trying to make a living and doing things, and look at this guy, he's relaxed. But it's not a very nice kind of relaxation. You want another kind of relaxation.
And death will come.
Huh?
I mean, will they be sattvic when death is on comes?
Yeah.
No, it's
You know,
painful
if
for
you
them,
don't
right?
have an understanding, how can you?
When it's time to act, it's more painful for the person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For a sattvic person, it's not painful.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah,
painful.
yeah. That's
It's karma, perhaps, too.
it's all karma.
It's not karma.
It's all karma. No karma.
I thought something that really helped me once, what Raji said, is that, just like you just said, it's everything's karma. For someone like, let's say this guy who's sitting there in Brazil, who's watching the cards, he's satisfied with an Anamaya kosha. He doesn't have the burning desire for liberation. That never even comes, that doesn't even come into his awareness. So they're just satisfied with an Anamaya kosha. And those, you know, right, yeah, they're just in ignorance and they're blissful in the ignorance, and either they're tamasic or sattvic. They're just satisfied, and we just happen to not be satisfied with this Anamaya kosha. And that's really what it is. I mean, my life is, I mean, everything's great, and I was not satisfied. And
Yeah.
why is that? That's karma. I wanted more than an Anamaya kosha.
Yeah, I have a little problem with the idea that somebody as tamasic as those guys in Brazil to be in a blissful state, because they don't seem to be blissful, and I know from direct experience that sometimes in my life I could play a little bit with opium, and opium, it makes you absolute tamasic, and you are absolutely free from any affliction, mental agitation. You just take a little ball of opium. A friend of mine introduced me to opium. You take it, and then you are absolute tamasic. You cannot sleep, and nothing disturbs you. Your mind is free from any kind of agitation. And I was wondering, I was into meditation there in Pune. I was wondering what kind of flat, boring, peace is this one? This is a dead peace. No, it's a dead kind of peace. It's a peace that does not have aliveness, does not have this clarity of mind. It's just like
They're dull.
dull. Yeah. They are dull. This is not an Anandamaya question too. This is not a blissful state. A blissful state is as the deep sleep or the Nirvikalpa Samadhi comes from the total predominance of tamas. There is some rajas, there is some tamas, and they are dull and they cannot do anything. There is this inert power of laziness and dullness in the mind. It's different.
And a dependence upon objects too that's still in place.
Huh?
And a dependence upon objects too that's still in place.
Yeah.
If some fundamental object disappears from
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Therefore,
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw some things that, when I was young in Brazil, I used to escape every weekend to the nature and the mountains. And I used to go to a place that nowadays is very famous. And just an hour away from Rio de Janeiro. And I love the place because people are so backward and it's just old times. And everybody say good morning. And they have a smile, oh, good morning, good afternoon. You say, wow, people here are so nice compared with there. Here people say hi. And then I had developed this romantic idea that people in the countryside, they are superior. They are relaxed, they are frank, they are smiley, and so on. One day I was there in a pub, they were playing, pool, and they drink this cheap beer in Brazil and so on, and they get a little bit high. And then there was some discussion between two of those country people, those, how you say them? Country folk. There was a little discussion with them, and out of the blue, one got a bottle and the other got the thing, and one of them get the other and just cracked the head of the other open, and blood all over the place. And I always think that I was among very sensitive and beautiful people. And for my surprise, all the other folks there were having a good laughter. Nobody was like panic or trying to help the poor guy. You know what they did? They took a liquor, a very strong liquor, more than 50% alcohol. It's called cachaça in Brazil. Have you heard of cachaça? They took the cachaça and then they're laughing, and everybody, nobody was sensible about the condition of that guy unconscious on the floor. Nobody think of calling. They get the bottle of cachaça and pour here to disinfect the crack in his head. You know? I was always a very sensitive person. I was under shock. I was like that, and then I couldn't stay there. I had to go home and rearrange my thoughts about these romantic ideas of folks from the countryside. You know, ignorance is a problem. Ignorance may look like bliss sometimes. You know, but it's